about testing and teaching and all the things related to it, yes? That we are preparing students for the test, that we are preparing students for the exam, but in reality, they don't have time for learning. So, and a lot of hype about autonomous learner, about learner autonomy, the person who can learn independently, this non-existent ideal, yeah? So let's see if it is existent or not, and what practices we could implement into our learning and teaching. And maybe we ourselves as teachers could find something useful for our own learning, who knows? So, deeper learning, raising an autonomous learner, let's try. So, the first one is a couple of words about me. I have a lot of abbreviations about my life now. I'm a PhD student, and I'm working with communications and mass media, and also literacy and teaching. So what I'm trying to do is to ensure that what we are doing, yes, in education is the right way of communicating something. So that we are communicating things in the right way. One more speaker. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me? I guess you can. So we will start from the idea of experiential learning, yes, and what experiential learning is. That learning, experiential learning is not only about basically learning from the teacher and imitating what the teacher actually wants us to imitate, but also add some cognitive process about that. I mean, higher order cognitive process, namely thinking and deeper thinking about what is happening in the classroom. So we have been listening a lot about critical thinking and other stuff, but what it really is still remains quite obscure, and how we can apply that in the classroom and get our learners to apply that. So the main idea is that we have a concrete experience, and the experience is concrete not only in terms of happening in the classroom. Yes, that's how we learn. But also we have the experiences in the classroom which are directly connected with what happens to us in real life. Because if we start teaching theoretically, well, nothing good will happen. Yeah, we will be good academicians, that's for sure. So the students are observing the teacher who is presenting some kind of a model. They are reflecting on that. They are trying to see what is manageable, what is not. After that, they are trying to come up with the abstract concept of whatever is happening. And then there is an amazing stage of experimenting. So the thing is, today we will try to do that, and we will see how much of you, the participants, are in the language. So the most important thing is here. First of all, we will try to see how we can build on the learner's previous knowledge. We have heard a lot of these things in CELTA, sometimes Delta, activate learner's schemata, blah, 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 blah. But why should we do it? Yeah. Let's have a look at some interesting theories. We have ZPD, Zone of Proximal Development by Vygotsky, is actually the nearest or the thing which a learner can learn based on his previous experience, or I+1, which means that the input should be one level higher than the learner's current level, because if it is I+2, nothing good is going to happen. And the most important thing, we need to know what the learner needs. We need to know what the learner lacks, and we need to know what the learner is interested in. For example, in this case, I think I should be interested in improving my spelling, or at least trying to edit what I have been doing. So this is learner's interests, okay? Right, so what I would like you to do is think also about collaboration in the classroom. So what basically students can do by themselves, and probably their productivity could be boosted by working with others. Because when you are directly like face-to-face with the teacher, a person who may be an authority in the classroom, depending on the teacher's role, when you're working with other people around, so that could actually boost you a little bit. But again, you need to be aware if the student wants to work or to collaborate, or the student is more like closer to the individualistic approach. So the most important things which we have been working with is project-based learning and task-based learning. So mainly the students are given a project or a task. They are shown how to do this, yeah, or they are basically, maybe they are modeled, or maybe they are just given a task. After that, they are thinking of the strategies, how to collaborate about this project. Probably they are lacking some language, and here the teacher comes in handy. Probably they are lacking some content matter. Here again, someone else comes in handy, and at the end there is some kind of like examination of how the project or the task went. Today, of course, we won't have time for the whole cycle of all these task-based learning and project-based learning, but we are going to try something more practical. Right. So why should we get the learners to basically be more involved, not in what the teacher gives, but in what they want? Because learners also have some baggage with them, right? They have some information to share, and you have, I'm pretty sure that every class starts from teacher, I want to tell you something. I'm so eager to blah, blah, blah. They have some knowledge, and sometimes they have much more knowledge compared to us. They bring their emotions, and emotions mean motivation and also experiences. Yeah, so these are the things which we shouldn't neglect in the classroom. It doesn't matter what age the students are actually. So let's try it out. What I would like you to do, well, I don't know how tangible it will be to go to the breakout rooms, but let's try to do it. There will be 4 different. Do you think it will be realistic?
Let's try. How many rooms do you want?
I don't know. Let's see. Maybe we will put just people in groups of 3, if it is possible. But there will be too many groups.
Yes.
33.
Let's have 4 or 5, maybe. Is it okay?
I'm not sure the people will have enough time, but let's have at least like 10 or whatever.
Okay, let's try this.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll have to manually put everybody. So I'm just doing it in a random way. People don't get pissed off on me if you don't get in the room with the person that you want to get into. So I will just assign the first set people that I see. Yes.
So ladies, while you're being put, or ladies and gentlemen, while you're being put into the rooms, please take a screenshot of the 4 questions which are on the screen, because you will need these questions.
Mostly.
And your task will be to discuss these questions with other people. We will see how tangible it will be. 111. Okay. So let's give more time to the people. So let's give up to maybe 7 minutes for everyone to speak. Yeah, just try to not to take long with that.
I hope that somebody managed to screenshot the questions so they know what they do.
So ladies and gentlemen, again, please take the screenshot, okay? Please put a plus to the chat if you made a screenshot. Perfect, so much spam, okay.
We, yes, are technologically advanced. That's a good sign.
Perfect, yeah, that's right. Okay, the numbers are skyrocketing. Okay, so you have to discuss these 4 questions with the other people, yes? Just to very quickly come up with the ideas. Do you think you can put me into one of the groups as well? So is it tangible?
Yes, if I find you, because I'm not sure where you are, but I might find you. Okay. I'm just pressing buttons over and over. Okay. Oh, I see that we have some of the rooms, okay, already done, but I'm not sure how many, because I've lost count, so I'm not sure how many people we have in each group.
It's okay. We'll see. We'll just work it out. So we'll give more time for that, because every voice should be heard. That's for sure.
That's a very important part. Yes. Okay. I'm still. Adding people to groups. I feel like I'm already adding the same names. Why this happens, I don't know.
You can do it automatically, I think, yeah?
I'm not sure. Anyways, this is only for manual. It's showing manual. Okay. I think I've done it, but still I cannot find you.
It's okay, no problem. Let's put the people, yes, and then we will just work on it.
Finally.
So please discuss the questions with your partners.
Where can we see the group in which we are?
Excuse me?
I'm not sure. If you are not in, the group. Okay, some of my groups say, well, I don't have anyone else in the list, but I do have the groups. Please, someone, if you can hear us, please let us know. Okay, I found the names. Okay, I found those who are not there. Those who are not seen. Okay, many people are still coming and still joining, so that's why it's a little difficult to manage all of it.
Yeah, that's right. But we will just try to do without breakout room. Yeah.
We will try to discuss because I see names appearing over and over and over and over again. I'm trying to fix this. Okay. But I think that because we have lots of them, I'm not sure if you as a co-host, I think that you can see the groups. Can you see them? If not, can you join? Because I see on my screen, I see the join button.
Yeah, I can, but I'm just looking who is here, and we'll see.
Okay. I now really see how many people we have in each group. That's a little.
Let's try to remove all the breakout rooms if it is possible. Yeah, just because they don't work properly, unfortunately. It's okay. Yeah, but there are like I looked through a couple of them. There is one person there, so that's
waiting and so on and so forth. Because of the people who just joined, they don't know what is going on. They don't join. Yes, they don't join and they don't go there because they don't know what to do. That's a little difficult. The rooms are not an option when people are late. That's a problem. Okay, so we have 32 seconds, 30 seconds till everything closes. Okay, I'm not sure. Maybe some of them managed to, because I've seen that some of the rooms were full.
But still, let's stop the breakout session. Just wait a little bit for everyone to come back. Yes, just because it's very.
Yes, it's difficult to have it with so many people. That's for sure.
No, it's good that there are so many people. That's amazing. People are interested in the morning, yes, just to go into the different kinds of things like that. Yeah. So 1 moment. So the people are coming back as far as I
Yes,
can see.
they closed, the groups closed, so everybody's back.
Perfect. Everyone, welcome back. I'm sorry for that, because like probably I wasn't expecting to have so many people here. So we're going to do it, but I have plan B, and we're going to act according to plan B. And basically you're going to write in the chat, okay, next time.
Now I see that somebody, I'm sorry, Marina, I see that somebody did manage to talk, because they said that they had too little time to discuss.
Well, that's why I'm explaining to everybody that we decided to stop this practice of talking, because unfortunately not everyone was able to do it fast and in a fast and efficient way. So sorry for that. And let's try to, but you tried, yeah, that's right, okay. Right. Yeah, guys, please don't get frustrated if you didn't discuss anything. Yeah, unfortunately, we need to remember that there are many of us, but some people didn't have the opportunity to discuss at all for some technical problems and so on. So anyway, let's come back. And I would ask you to communicate with me by chat. Okay, so what I would like you to do, I would like you to think about one of these questions, right? And write in the chat the answer to this question in 1 or 2 sentences, okay? So pick one question, any one question out of the 4, which you can see on the screen, and type in the chat 1 or 2 sentences in response to the question, please, okay? I hope you can see the chat.
The chat is visible for everyone.
Oh, I see wonderful
yes.
answers. Yeah, love for children, keeping them motivated. Yeah, just like this. Discipline issues. Yeah. Everybody loves children. Okay. And for the foreign language. Perfect. Okay. I like English. Me too. Okay. Perfect. 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 Okay. Thank you, everyone. So while we were doing this kind of activity, actually, we were going to do this kind of activity. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but how to go about it in your classroom. When you're having this kind of an activity, you usually have it when you have an exam prep class and so on. So you have a couple of discussion questions. Ask your students to talk together for some time, but then deal with their emergent language. Emergent language is the language which comes up when students are speaking, but they don't know how to put it into English words, yeah? And after that, while you're listening and monitoring, put not only their mistakes, but something they had troubles with. Maybe they put it into English, but they didn't use the right collocations. They didn't use, maybe not the right grammar, but they were not very intelligible. Thank you for your wonderful answers, and let's have a look at how we can go about it. Let's imagine I have listened to you, to all of you, and I have spotted a couple of inefficiencies which you mentioned. So my next step as a teacher would be to suggest the alternatives. And the alternatives could be like this. Namely, when you're talking about your teaching, you could say, I started out in economics or as an accountant, but then I moved into teaching. I didn't have a lot of money and I didn't have a lot of experience, which pushed me to work for a state school. I've been in teaching for 15 years. The highlights of my job are love for kids and namely love for my profession. I was in between jobs back then, meaning that I couldn't actually get the right, make the right decision. Maybe I was unemployed and so on. I didn't like my previous job, namely I was an accountant. It was emotionally draining, but I love teaching even more, although it is physically demanding. And I love my team. I'm an integral part of it. These phrases are actually, or these phrases basically contain amazing collocations which could be used when you're talking about something. And in each topic, you can find some collocations which you would like to deal with and you would like your learners to be aware of, to be in teaching for, the highlight of my job is, and so on. Now let's see how much thought you are given to collocation, because we will look at one of the parts, which is use of English. And we will see how to put testing to teaching, how to boost their motivation. Again, I had a problem with spelling, boosting motivation, because I was using my telephone to preparing the presentation. For how to foster learner autonomy and how to develop useful habits for learners to be more independent. So with this, we are going to work with the lexical approach, because lexical approach is the backbone of exam preparation for me personally, and the collocational knowledge is actually something we're going to speak about. So first of all, what we're going to have a look at: basic principles behind learning and basic principles behind lexical approach. The most important thing, always search for meaning. Even if you're dealing with the use of English task, don't forget, it's a text. We will look at it a little bit later. Predict and brainstorm. Don't forget that you are acting on your students' knowledge and your students already have something to say. Collaborate with other people, with your students, like get students to collaborate with each other before they present the answers to you. Get them to notice new language, because sometimes they just don't see it. And if you don't see something, you will never learn it. Expand or simplify the task depending on the level. So if you have a mixed level group, like stronger students, for them you can expand the task, like make it more challenging. Or for slower students, you can just simplify that. Don't forget to challenge your memory, because memory is the cognitive process which helps or enables our learning. So, and developing memory is a good idea. Record and store different collocations and chunks in a good way. Now we have a lot of interesting ways to record and store chunks, namely Quizlet, yes, and others, not only just copybooks. And revisit, come back to the tasks which you have already done. So let's have a look at some of them, yes, at these principles in action. And probably I would ask you to work with me a little bit. Again, please write your answers in the chat. Let me just very quickly look at the chat. Okay, so the first thing will be a text. Please have a look at the text and try to come up with the right answers. And here comes the problem, because this is how learners see the text. They see the words before the gap and after the gap. That's it. Do they consider it to be a text? No. So your task as a teacher should be to get them into the deepest meaning of this text first, and only after that to do the task. Okay. It is not readable, exactly, but it is not readable to show you how learners usually approach such texts, that they don't accept it as a text, basically. Okay, right. What you need to do first is search for meaning. How to do it? An easy way. Let's cut off the options. Let's do it like this. So I preserved the text about genealogy and I added 2 questions to that. Please read the text about genealogy and write 1 new fact you learned from this text and 1 fact about genealogy you know, but which is not present in this text. So you could have a look at the text, yes, and get your learners to treat it as a source of information. So what you didn't know before reading this text and what facts are not present there. So basically like this. So you can work it out just very quickly with them. After that, you discuss all these things. Of course, they will have a kind of anxiety about the gaps, but for now, get them to ignore the gaps. We always do it for exam prep because sometimes we get them to ignore the words which are unnecessary for reading, for listening. This is the same idea, yeah, because there are not a lot of meaningful words, really meaningful words missing here, okay? So the next one will be to keep on working with this text, but this time we are dealing with the missing words. And here again, no options. Why no options? Because first, I would like my students to show what they can do. Of course, you need to make sure that the text is not too demanding, right? But still, yeah, when you're looking here, it concerns family history, then the national or world history studied at school. Some students could come up with rather than, yes? Then history can also in learning about your roots, yeah? So think about all the phrases within, yes, you could think of, yes? And people worldwide to information about their family history, to share information about their family history, yes, to add information about their family history. After that, discuss the possible collocations with your students, and then we go to the next part, which is for stronger students. Sometimes I give the stronger students just words like this. We could try doing something like that with you today. Let's look at one only. Okay, so we have instead, rather, except, and sooner. Could you please, in the chat, write all the possible collocations, at least one with each, with these words, namely, except for. Yeah, just like this. So please put the collocations down in the chat, only with one, please. If it's not enough, you can go to 2. Oh, sooner or later, I love it, yeah. Sorry for spoilers, rather than. Okay. Yes. Okay, rather than. Nobody thought about I'd rather, yeah? Would rather, yeah? Okay. Oh, would rather, I see it, thank you. Okay, oh, so many of them. Exactly. So that's what you do with the students, and you get them to do it like you work with it, like you can take any line, yes. And of course, if you take the whole task, yeah, it will be a little bit time consuming. But if you take 1 or 2 lines and get them to brainstorm what they already know, it will boost their confidence in the exam itself. So after that, you can do the task and check the chunks which you have guessed. Maybe some of the collocations are already there in the text. So students will be more motivated. They're, I told you, something like that. So you're doing the task, and basically you're trying to put the A, B, C, D like into the right gap. And after that, we ask you to come back to the task and challenge the students' memory. Because there are different ways of like doing these kinds of tasks, yeah. But if you do the task again, and especially if you add the memory challenge, that's a really good idea. So a beep game. You have a sentence. Genealogy is a beep of history. You can use banana game. Genealogy is a banana of history. So students in groups are reading these beep or banana sentences to each other, which could be at times quite funny. People who research their family history often banana that it's a fascinating hobby, yeah? And another student is going to give their own ideas, just like this. So, okay, right, perfect. So, and another thing is a reverse game. So you can ask a learner, one of the learners in a group, to give a word, and another student should give a sentence. Not word by word, of course, but in general, trying to coincide with what was in the text. Or disappearing sentence, when you put a sentence on the board and then you start eliminating the parts of the sentence, which is a very nice bottom-up approach when you're basically dealing with the smaller parts of syntax, smaller parts of structures, and so on. Rewriting using the options. So you look only at the options and you rewrite the text. You retell the text, you rewrite it, and rewrite using the chunks or collocations. So you have phrases, not the words, but phrases now. And as a follow-up, you ask your students to reproduce the text by writing or by speaking, whatever. So what happens after that? You train your students to notice. And what I would like you to do, I would like you to be the students as well. And I would like you to have a look at the song. Unfortunately, we are not going to listen to that, but songs are very good because they have the rhythm. And basically, when something has the rhythm, chunks also have the rhythm. And they are remembered in this way. So could you please have a look at this song and write down 3 examples of collocations or chunks you have spotted here. please write it in the chat. So read the song, 3 examples of chunks and collocations. Again, use the chat, please. Breaking news English, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Everybody likes take your time. Move, please, a little bit further in the text. Okay. Okay, take time and take your time. Do you think these are the same collocations or not? Something takes time. Wait, it takes time. I need 3 more minutes. Don't worry, take your time. So think about that. Okay. Up above, okay. Kind of man. Nice. Okay. Okay. Thanks, everyone. So let's have a look at my collocations, which I spotted here. So they are highlighted using different colors. Yeah, really take your time. Troubles will come. They will pass. Some of them are more fixed. Like, for example, take your time, and you cannot change a lot of them. Some of them are less fixed. Okay, thanks everyone. Thank you. So, and what we can do later. So we spotted the collocations, yeah? So the next thing we can do is basically expand the collocational knowledge of the students. How to do this? There was in the text, I think it was stay beside me, yeah? So what we can do, we put them into the collocational grid. You can stay beside me, sit beside him, lie beside this chair, live beside them, walk beside us, whatever. Lying beside the chair is a little bit like strange way of spending time, but still. Okay, then my only son, his only daughter, her only child, and their only husband. I don't know what I'm talking about here. And you can also generate more chunks. Here are 4 different chunks for you. You can pick one and make more chunks. Please write them in the chat. Namely, listen closely to what I said. Listen carefully to what I say. Listen carefully to, or look carefully at what I show. Okay, so please generate more chunks and put them in the chat now. Listen attentively. Teacher's language. Okay. Okay. Troubles will disappear. Yeah. Or troubles will pass also. Yeah. Like, or troubles will come. Yeah. Vanish. Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, pay attention to what I say. Okay. Oh, you have changed a lot. Okay. Give your time. Oh, by the way, if you see this red one, take your time. Unfortunately, this is quite a fixed chunk and you cannot change it a lot without changing the meaning completely. So take your time is the phrase. We cannot say take his time, take my time, yes? Or I'm taking my time is fine, yeah? But basically try to leave it unchanged, yeah? Just like this. Right, perfect. Let's move on to the next part, yes? And after that, we can examine the word. We can pick a word and we can go to some special websites, corpus linguistics websites, where you can examine the words. Namely, I've picked the word argument and I put it into Scale. This is one of the corpus linguistics websites. You will find all of them in my presentation, so a little bit later. So what you can do, you can find different examples of how this word is used in real language. So that's what people do in corpus linguistics. For example, they had those arguments 10 years ago. You can have an argument, yeah? Then the double jeopardy argument is very convincing indeed. So argument is convincing, yeah? So an argument could be convincing. Then many arguments against something, okay? Or evaluate arguments. So you can find a lot of interesting words to deal with that. And there are some other things, but you will get this presentation. You don't need to take any notes just now. So there are all the useful, quite useful websites which you could use for these purposes. Okay, you've explored the words. What to do next? Let's come back to our song. Get students to create their own song, yeah? So please read it through and put a plus to the chat if you like the song and a minus if you don't like it. Right, you will have an opportunity to read through the whole song because that was the song created by one of my students. And what I would like you to do, let's move on to the next part, a little bit more of the noticing activities which you could use with your students as well, not only listening to the songs, but also text search and green cross code. Basically, you look at the text, yes, and you find the word, namely decided. And we can say decided to spend, yes? Or let it be crack, the crack of dawn, yes? Or namely, we could find the word keys, left the keys, keys to the cottage or keys of the cottage, whatever, yeah? So you get the learners to find these different connections between words in the sentence. Also, find the noun, find the collocate, yes? So you just ask the student to find a noun in the text. You get them to find the collocating word in the same text. Namely, you have the word mistake and you get them to find make. But then you get them to go to SCAL, namely, or to another corpus linguistics website and try to come up with more collocations. Okay, yeah, anthem for the teacher. Yeah, that's right. Okay. After that, so they brainstorm as many, or they come up with as many collocations as they want after that. My favorite activity, collocation dictation, it basically looks like this. I give this to my students and I mainly either put an audio on or read a text to them, and they are listening carefully for the words collocating with this. So the only thing they get is these, like, could be cut phrases, yeah, pieces of phrases, yeah. So their task is to listen carefully to come up with the whole phrase, not the text, but only the phrases. Also, that develops their idea of collocations and namely of how they work in the text. Examine a word, we have already discussed it, just go to SCAL and find some new interesting things. And find unusual collocates for common words. Sometimes the word make or get, they're quite functional and they are quite universal. And sometimes we can find new meanings of get, new meanings of make, and new collocations with them. So which will be a good idea. Right, so done with this use of English, let's go to listening. Very quickly, we'll show you some techniques I'm using to ensure that students are listening, but not only listening, they are actually more motivated to listen deeper than just for an exam. So could you please have a look at this, at the screen, and tell me what's the main problem with this listening? Just put one problem in the chat. Actually, guys, do you know the task? The task is usual. This is a usual FCE task, yes, where you have to listen, and that's why I didn't put the task. So this is my bad. But you have to listen and fill in the gaps with Too many gaps. I love it. Thank you. Yeah, that exactly. Okay. Okay. Too long. Yes, agree. A lot of gaps. Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, so the task is not specific. No task and nothing specific. No pre-listening activity. Okay. No hints. Okay. All right, so you are already on the right track. The most important thing, I have a question. Do you know who puffins are? Have you ever seen a puffin? Please put a plus in the chat if you have seen a puffin. Oh, Elena, you saw a puffin. Neil, you saw a puffin. Amazing, amazing. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Anastasia didn't see a puffin. Anastasia, I'm with you here. Okay. The problem is, this is the FC task, which usually students take, students or let's say high school students and whatever. And of course, these people, they want to know what these puffins look like. And here comes, namely, a picture. And the most important thing, which is missing here, yes, is a picture. Because if you're given a task to the students, it's really important that you don't double or triple the problems they're already having with too many gaps, too many words, also listening, also cognitive knowledge, also memory, also anxiety. So when you're preparing these kinds of tasks, which if you look at the textbooks, the pictures are usually either missing or quite unusual. I still remember the picture with a bear. There was a speckled bear. It was a picture of this size, and there was something, I don't know. No, I understand what a bear is, but if you see a picture, I think it's more humanistic. So always add a picture to that, because you want the students to activate their schemata. How can you do it? By looking at the word puffins, especially if you don't know who puffins are. Okay, so not only picture, you could also start from the video about something if it is an unusual representative of flora or fauna or whatever, because this is not the knowledge of English. This is the knowledge of content matter. This task is already quite problematic for the students. Please don't make it too problematic. And then you would ask me, but this is a test. Guys, you are tested for English knowledge, for the not only for the content knowledge, okay? So add something, help your learners, mediate their learning as well. Okay. Videos would be more useful. I agree. This is a very good comment. Actually, whenever I can, I put on a video because videos have gestures. Videos have body language. Videos have everything we have in everyday life. Because when we are using a language in everyday life, we see the person more or less. Because even now, if you start telling me about phone calls, I will tell you that I don't make phone calls. I use Viber or WhatsApp. I want to see the person I'm talking to. So yes, we are becoming more and more visual, which is good. And we want to have our whole body, yes, and to see the body of the person who is talking to us. Exactly, yes. And video has emotions, amazingly, yeah. And do puffins have emotions? What do you think? Look at this wonderful, cute picture. Yeah, let's go to another one. What you could do with this puffin? Like, this is a really good task. I do agree that Cambridge are doing a great job. That's fine. But what you could do, how to humanize this task a little bit to your learners, how to make it more, how to make it closer to their experience. My favorite one is snippets to text. So I've picked a couple of phrases and ideas and maybe concepts from the listening script. So spend most of their lives, but islands built, funny on dry land, but impressive, feed breaks, catch fish. So these are some things related to puffins in some way. Learners get into the groups and make a text or make some kind of their own predictions, come up with predictions on what is happening. So what puffins usually do, what they don't do, and so on. What do you think we do next? After that, we listen and check their guesses, if they are the same or not. And if not, what is not the same? So this is an alternative to a typical task we have been doing. Why is it better? Because these texts are created by the students and they are more meaningful to the students compared to, let's say, this text with the gaps. They imply new words, grammar, exactly, but what is bad about new words and grammar? This is good. This is where you can help your learners with emergent language. Yeah. But the predictions are quite tricky, you know, Larissa, thank you for this interesting comment. Yeah, because when students are predicting, let's remember a typical classroom. When you get your students to predict, they usually predict very trivial things. But when you give them more space, namely like here, because it's quite vague, yes? So they can add their creativity as well. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Also, my favorite, listening with Venn diagrams. If we are talking about two things, I get learners mainly speaking about tennis and basketball. There are two people speaking. One person likes tennis, another person likes basketball. So you listen and you write down the ideas which relate only to tennis, the ideas which relate only to basketball, and which relate to both. The thing is, speaking about both, you need to work it out for yourself because speakers usually don't speak about that. So just like this. And one more thing to make it more and more and more interesting for the learners: listen and follow the map, listen and draw, listen and label, listen and correct. And these are not the tasks for the young learners, these are the tasks for IELTS as well. Because sometimes we cannot read the schemes because we are lacking the basics visual skills and so on. So you need to get the learners to work more visually and so on. Okay, reading, a little bit on to reading. And this is a typical reading task where you have a text and you have some questions. One moment, okay. I would recommend such a task plus a summary. Exactly, thank you, Beatrice. Yeah, that's an amazing comment, because I think that, like, as a follow-up, the summary, yeah, you mean the summary of the text before, yeah? Yeah, you can also include some mistakes there, right, in the summary of the text. I mean, factual mistakes, and get your learners to listen and correct them. A usual task, right? Okay, good. So after that, reading task. So the most important thing which we do is, when we are picking a text for a reading task, shouldn't forget that the topic should be relevant, emotionally gripping. There should be some new information for the learners, not only for the teacher. Appropriate visuals, as usually, I do hope that they are appropriate. Sometimes even videos before that, like you can also find a video to the related topic. I still remember we had the very interesting text about fears, but unfortunately students were demotivated to read it. So I put on a video about fears, and we spoke about fears a lot, about fears, about phobias. Also, when I give the class about fears, I put the sounds of different things, which could be quite scary. And they try to work out what the sounds are and how they make them feel. And after that, we go to reading. So as a pre-reading stage, why not? Right, some activities and methods which you could do to ensure a little bit deeper reading. Rub-outs, picture gallery, text with factual mistakes, 3 facts, and close reading. Let's have a look. Rub-outs. You have a text, and then your text looks like this. What your students have to do? They have to fill in the gaps without looking at the original version. Once they have done it, they close it, and here goes this. What happens here? Here happens not only reading, but here also happens grammar, here also happens lexis, and here also happens syntax and other things which could be used. All right, one more thing which is quite interesting. Read the text and put down 3 facts, or like make a note of 3 facts or 3 new facts about this person, or about the sports they do, or about their lives, whatever. Yeah, just like this. My favorite one actually is reading, but without typical Cambridge tasks. What are the tasks which I really adore discussing with my students? For example, do you think the writer likes Jamie, the main character of this text? How do you know? And the learners will look for some positive adjectives, which might be there, just trying to pick them out and saying, yeah, he is being positive about him. Okay, something in the chat, yeah. Right. Then how could you describe relationships in Jamie's family? Again, you need to find some language which supports and confirms that. What was Jamie's attitude to pro sports? How could it characterize him? So you find his attitude, yes? Maybe he was feeling just a little bit uneasy about that, or he is feeling bad about his previous mistakes by saying, I might have done better, yes? Something like that. What future might this person have? Do you think the story would be the same or different in your community or country? Have you had a similar experience? So all these things, they are helping the learners to drive away from these mechanical A, B, C, D questions, which usually have no relation to the student's life, and get them to read more closely, trying to get deeper and deeper and deeper in the text. So these are, well, it's not only reading for gist, honestly, because here we are, I cannot say it is reading for gist, because when you're looking for the language, do you think the writer likes Jamie? Yes, I do. Why? And then you start picking for the language. This is not reading for the general idea, but this is basically also reading for like detailed comprehension, because you need to put the evaluative adjectives together, right? So this is not, I wouldn't put gist reading as a phrase here, okay? They imply students' maximum involvement. Yeah, but this is the skill to be taught. Of course, when you come into your classroom with this kind of text and you say, do it, some students will be demotivated, right? So as a teacher, your task is to train your learners to notice more and more and more about this text in a non-threatening environment. That's it. Of course, the first encounter with this type of task could be quite demotivating for you as a teacher in the first place. So your task is to come up with something that depends on the level of the students. Yeah, exactly. But here we are basically talking about FC level, right? This is the text for FC level and for exam preparation. So at B2 level, I think reading is one of the biggest problems among others, yes? Reading more closely, not only reading for exams. Okay. They have a reason for reading. Yeah, that's right. And they can also relate to their own experiences, which is the most important thing. Yes, and they can relate to the main character. They can relate to the author. Also, a good idea is to pay attention to, namely, like the author as well. So students could be encouraged to read about the author of the book, of the article, or of something else, and come up with an idea why the author has written this piece. So what might have prompted the person? And after that, of course, you do a lot of post-reading tasks where you write something, namely a summary with your own opinion, or maybe you write an essay, whatever. So you can create any writing or speaking task you want. You can create a debate, you can come up with some kind of a speech, you can write your biography. It doesn't matter. The thing is, all these texts could be used for good, for deeper learning, not only for the testing, which is the most important thing. Thank you. Sorry for being too hasty because we lost so much time and I'm like, okay. Thank you very much.
No need to worry about that because I bet that anyways, everybody found something interesting. So thank you very much, Marina, for your time and for the presentation. Yes, so you see the chat box. I won't comment on that.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks again for everything that you said and shared with us. I bet this is very useful for everyone.